Hey YouTube, Lawler here as always. As mentioned in yesterday's video, I'd be breaking down RLCS 2026, and the official roadmap has officially been released by Blast. I'll have a link to that in the description down below, as well as my roster document if you guys have missed out on any of the roster rumors in yesterday's video. But in today's video particularly, we're going to be breaking down 2026 RLCS, what to expect when it starts, all the new format information, the details, the rule changes, the new LAN, what to expect, everything. If you guys want to make sure you don't miss out on stuff like this and news in the future, make sure you guys hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Drop any comments down below with anything I missed. With that, let's get into the blog post. I've got a cheat sheet on the side with all of the little quick spark note type information to kind of make sure we don't have to read through all of this, but primarily the big thing to remember is that even though there's been an introduction of new formats, the core format, the main focus of RLCS remains 3v3. The 3v3 format is still going to be the primary focus and the primary competition with the biggest prize pool. Again, first place this year took, what, $300,000 home or something like that? That stuff is going to remain. I don't know if they're going to be prize pool changes. They haven't announced any of that stuff. But the main focus for RLCS is still 3v3. Keep that in mind. It's the same format, to my knowledge, as last year. We don't know if the actual tournament that they play in, where it goes from like open double elimination to Swiss to single elimination weighted bracket, is the same. But what we do know is the robust format. 3 open events into a major. 3 open events into a major. Best performing teams at majors earn international points as well. That gets you to the World Championship. That stuff remains the same. LCQs, the top performing regions and how they perform at international events, earn those places a spot in the LCQs and the last chance qualifiers that we saw recently. That stuff stays the same. 3v3s are that primary focus. They will also have 1v1s like we saw this year. They are also adding 2v2s. If you guys would like a dedicated video on who I think could be really good 2v2 duos, and we can theorycraft a little bit of that, let me know down below. I will try to bring that to you guys in a future video. But the big thing is the format, as I mentioned, stays the exact same. 1s and LCQs and all that stuff returns along with 2v2s. One of the big changes, though, is that they are changing roster eligibility. What this means in the past is there was no region restrictions. Players could go anywhere and do anything and compete. It did not matter. Hell, if you wanted to play on 140 ping, you could play on 140 ping and compete in SSA. It did not matter. That is no longer the case. They have changed eligibility rules to now contain technically 3 things. One is staying the same. 2/3 of the roster of the starting players. Technically, if you have a sub signed up, then it has to be 3/4, but a majority of your team, over 50%, has to have either A, citizenship in the place they're competing, or B, permanent legal residency. Those 2 things are a requirement, so you cannot be an import. If you are, you have to be 1 out of the 3 that is doing so. So, for example, Chiefs in OCE had 2 OCE players and 1 European team in Braziers. That is fine. But, as you guys saw on the roster news yesterday, Twisted Minds cannot keep Nubo, Atomic, and Rise. They would have to get rid of Atomic or Rise and bring in another MENA local talent or someone who is a permanent legal residency there. So there is going to be some changes to them, teams like Foot, a lot of things. And the reason why they do this is their intent is to let the local regional talent to shine, which is what we've been wanting for a long time. We've talked about, sure, it brings in more competition, but the ultimate reality is you want to incentivize the people who live there locally to sign up and play within their own region, because even though they may not win it, they may not be good enough, it is to foster and create communities so they can build and grow and develop. But if you just take those spots with import, it defeats the purpose. It deters everybody. It doesn't make sense. You need to create this little safety bubble first and then expose them to the high level play, and then it is on them to compete and increase and improve, like we saw with South America, like we saw with OCE. Stuff is super important, so it's good to see that. I think it is good to bring in 1 person and say, hey, I'm a top free agent. It also incentivizes organizations to spend top dollar and give opportunities to players that may not potentially find a top tier. It gives a second life for players who may not be at the very top but can still go make an impact elsewhere. You know, no hate to Jorias at all. Love the kid. But when he played with the team Chiefs, they made top 8. They beat Gentlemates twice at EWC. It was crazy. And he's like, these kids are super talented. They just need a little bit of guidance, a little bit of direction. That is better than saying, well, we're just going to take your spot. So I'm happy to see that change. I think it's a crazy good change. It's something we've been asking for a long time. Changes like that, they usually don't do in the middle of a season. So I'm very happy for 2026. That is the case. As I mentioned again, RLCS 2v2s have been announced. It is going to be very similar to how they did 1v1s last year, where they do a open qualification process. Top teams that perform get a chance to go and compete. Something that is new as well this season is a Kickoff LAN. The Kickoff LAN is going to be a 3-day event for 12 teams. And this will be after the conclusion of Open 1. Open 1 starts very early. This is something I've already talked about, but November 14th, literally 2 months after the end of the RLCS World Championship in 2025, we start 2026. My assumption for this, and if you kind of see the timeline, is we start November 14th. They go through Open 1. So the regions play their matches, so on and so forth. And then 2 weeks after that, technically 3 weeks, it's an in-studio 3-day LAN. Not for public, not for people in the crowd. It is going to be a LAN in Copenhagen at Blast. It's where their headquarters is. They have a studio there. That's where it'll be put on. If you guys want to go look up the FNCS LAN from Blast, you can kind of see some images of the studio. Makes it pretty easy. And then they're probably going to have a little bit of a lull holiday season, and then we come back at it. That's my assumption. Why they're choosing to do it beforehand feels a little bit odd, but my assumption is because of the travel and everything that's going on, there has to be a way to extend that out. They couldn't force it from January to March. It just wouldn't make sense. There wouldn't be time for travel and extensions and all that kind of stuff. So they're doing it beforehand. If it gives us another LAN, you know what, a little bit of rush I can deal with. What's crazy about this event, and this is unique to this event, is they are rewarding the best performing team extremely heavily. If you are the team that wins this Kickoff Studio LAN, you play Open 1, you make it to the LAN, life is good. If you win that LAN, not only do you guarantee yourself a spot at the first major, Open 2 and Open 3 do not matter, but it also unlocks an additional spot for your region at the major. So a chance to have 5 North American teams or 5 European teams instead. That's a pretty big deal. That is a lot of weight on that first event after what is only going to be essentially a couple months together. If I'm betting favorites, take the teams that did not make roster changes that can take a little bit of rest and then come back on the grind ready to go. Like NRG should be a heavy favorite. That's pretty crazy. That's a big deal. As for the dates, the things that matter, again, as I mentioned, it starts on November 14th for NA and EU. It is going to be a grind to kick us off right at the beginning. We have the other regions here in the blog post. Again, this will be linked in the description. If you guys would like, make sure you guys hit subscribe while you're down there taking a peek. But again, all the regions and all the dates are down there. The Kickoff LAN is December 5th to the 7th, as I mentioned. And then the first major will be late February in North America. We do not know where in North America, just that it is in North America. As for the second split, that'll start in May, on May 24th, and go until June. The second major is in Paris. That is confirmed. They also talk about the arena. It is a massive arena. It is going to be the biggest possible crowd we've ever had. A lot of expectations on that LAN. And from what we've all heard from everybody, it's going to be awesome. Apparently, Worlds was absolutely insane. The crowd absolutely crushed it. So, cool to see there. For the World Championship, we have June until July to do the 1v1s and the 2v2s. So as soon as we wrap up 3s, we then go into the 1v1 and 2v2s. After 1s and 2s finish, we then go into the last chance qualifiers. Keep in mind, last chance qualifiers is always very exciting because there is no trade window restrictions. There will be a trade window here and a trade window here. So if you do not make the World Championship, all bets are off. You can completely change your roster. You can change any iterations. You can do whatever you want. I do think that it's going to be better this time around, especially with knowing that there is trade restrictions in regards to region locking. So you're not going to see an all EU team who's here for college come on over and compete or do whatever. So it's going to be a little bit different that way. So You can't just have one team try to compete online with a high ping and figure it out. So some cleanup there, which is really, really good. But overall, technically a trade window here as well. You may see some new forming teams that are all kind of the leftovers coming together, kind of like you saw with us with Carl. We'll see how that plays out, or Pobe, or the boys, or what have you. And then last but not least, World Championship is September, probably mid-September, just like it was this year. And the big difference is now that it is 6 days instead of 5. So they have extended a little bit. 1 extra day. I assume that's to make room for the 2v2 event, as well as extra show matches. I think that also makes difference for, hopefully, and this is the issue I had, they did a lot of play-in matches. They did a lot of upper and lower matches on one day. A lot of people think elimination matches should be best of 7s. I don't necessarily disagree with that. So maybe if you extend that a day and you have another day to do play-in matches or qualification matches, and then you can do a show match at the end. So instead of 8 matches on each day, you do maybe like 4 with a show match for the 2v2 and the 1v1 championship. Might not be a bad idea. So some good ways to, I think, split it up, but also it's just another day in person. Whether that means that we're going to have 4 days in person for the World Championship, or if it's only going to be 3 days in person, 3 days online, we'll have to wait and see. But an entire week of RLCS for the World Championship, it's a great way to celebrate. It's a great way to see consistent viewership and climbs, and hopefully they really build it out. But overall, RLCS 2026, the biggest shock, it's in less than 2 months. It is a very short turnaround time, as I mentioned in the roster video. These teams are going to be scrimming and grinding and everything so aggressively, and then you have to lock in your team, maybe take a short break, but realistically, you don't really have a break because you got to make sure you're on form and ready, because Open 1 matters so much because of what it means for going for that first LAN, a chance to guarantee your spot at the major, like huge implications. Like winning that first Open and you have a good performance at the major basically guarantees you a spot at the World Championship almost out of the gate. That's nuts. There is a lot on the line for that event. So should be exciting to see. Should be exciting to see how those implications play out and the pressure that comes with it. But as always, if you guys do have any additional questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comments down below. Pretty crazy stuff for 2026, but that does it for me. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.